morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today, we'll discuss a new topic of BSOE 146, reimagining families. We discussed about the families in our previous lectures. Reimagining families. Let us first understand a few basic concepts and the definitions, like household. What is household? Household or a ghar is a residential and a domestic unit composed of one or more persons living under the same roof and eating food cooked in the same kitchen. So I hope it is clear what is household when or more person living under a same roof and eating food cooked in the same kitchen, then that is known as the household. It is a residential or a domestic unit. People can be member of a one family while not sharing a common household. See, in household family, the people who are sharing a household could be members of the same family or could not be the members of the same family. There is a difference between a family and a household. A family is based on the principle of kinship. We discussed about this in our previous lecture, and it is based on the kinship and whose member usually share the common residence as described by Iravati Karve. Family is based on the kinship. They share the common residence, common property, and they eat food cooked in the same kitchen. All these are the characteristics of family according to Iravati Karve. So family is based on the principle of kinship whose member usually share common residence. According to A.M. Shah, kin and residence rules distinguish between family and household. There is a difference between the residence and the family and the household. A household is an extension of a family. A family can be a household, but a household need not to be a family. Understand this concept. A family can be a household when the members of the same family lives in the different households. Their residence is different, but still they are bonded with each other through emotions. A household could be family. A family could be a household, but household need not to be a family. Suppose the flatmates or the classmates or the migrant worker, they are sharing a common residence or the household. They need not to be a family. So it is very important. Household is an extension of a family. It is an extension of a family. The family can be a household, but a household need not to be a family. A group of people live together regardless of whether there are kinship ties or not. As I told you, like flatmates, multiple occupancy home for my migrant workers, when they live together in one place, right? They need not to be a family, but they are sharing the residence, right? So, in a household, people live together whether there is any kinship ties or not. A family not only consists of a household, but often a family is extension of two or more household, member of which, though may not separate residence, yet may belong to the same family and have familial bonding and responsibilities. I described it, discussed it. Family, along with being a functional unit, is more ideological and emotional unit. Why we need a family? We need a family because family is the primary institution, and we get our values and beliefs from the family. It is a ideological unit. It is an emotional unit. We get emotional support from our family. It is a functional unit. While household may be described as functional unit only. Household is just a functional unit. It is not an emotional or ideological unit. Next is domestic group. What is domestic group? Domestic group described as a people residing together and sharing activities of domestic life. It is often synonym to household. Domestic group or household are synonyms. Then again, the people are sharing a common residence and sharing the activities of domestic life. It is not compulsory that the domestic group should be a family, right? Now, there are some sociological perspectives that the sociology looks social institution of family through many lenses, but the four dominant theoretical premises are right in sociology. Family is an institution, and they look social institution through many lenses. Like they look family as a functionalist unit. So they look from the functionalism perspective. Then the conflict theory is there, symbolic interaction, and feminist perspective. Let us discuss these perspectives. Functional perspective. What is functional perspective about the family? The functional perspective demonstrate family as a vital institution. According to functionalist, family is very vital institution, and family has important function for society and individual. Family plays a very important role for an individual's life and for society too. Functionalists analyze the family in the form of functions it performs, and it highlighted the positive functions as it is a functional perspective. So they analyze the family in terms of functions, and they highlighted the positive functions of the family. According to Murdoch, G. Murdoch, family perform the four functions. What are those four functions? First is regulation of sexual behavior, that is the function of a family. Second is reproduction. Third function, according to Murdoch, of the family is economic cooperation, and fourth is socialization. So these are the four functions of a family, according to Murdoch, that is regulation of sexual behavior, reproduction, economic cooperation, people cooperate with each other, and then the socialization. Family plays a very important role in socializing. And according to the Talcott Parson, the family rests in the two important functions of primary socialization of the children and stabilization of adult personality. So, according to Talcott Parson, the socialization is the primary function of family. That is, family plays an important function of socializing a kid, of our children, socialization of our children, and after the socialization, then family helps in stabilizing of adult personality through emotional backups. The function performed by the institution of families highlighted by functional theorists are biological family, provide a legitimate platform for two members to sexually cohabit and together as a couple and hence enhance the social continuity. That is, it helps in the sexual regulation and the reproduction. Family provides shelter and fulfills the basic metabolic needs of meeting food intake. They help in economic activities. Family act as economic unit in which members take part in productive activities. Member may do similar or different jobs. Household works are divided on the basis of division of labor, and how this division of labor is decided, that is on the base of age, on the base of gender, and the position of a person in a family, and even personal competence. All these are the criteria to divide the work among the family members. Conflict theory perspective. The conflict theory posits that society is characterized by the conflict between social groups. Group with unequal power and competing interest compete for scarce resources. They examine families' function within the society to perpetuate structural inequalities. According to the conflict theory, families function to perpetuate the social inequalities. This perspective suggests that the family structure contributes to the social inequality because it supports economic and gendered inequality. by reinforcing the patriarchal values. We'll discuss about this in detail later in this lecture. Next perspective is social interactionism. What is social interactionism perspective? According to this theory, it focuses on analysis of pattern of communication, interpretation, adjustment between individuals in relation to meanings of these symbols. So, social interactionism is a social theory and it focuses on the pattern of communication, how people or the members of the family communicate, how they interpret the things, and the adjustment between the individual. This perspective emphasizes that family reinforces and rejuvenate bond through symbolic mechanism, rituals such as family meals and holidays. So, according to this theory, this family holidays and rituals, meals, these symbolic mechanism enhances the bond between the family members. They also explore the changing meaning attached to the family. The theory argues that the shared activities help to build emotional bond among family members and that marriage and family relationships are based on negotiated meaning. So these sharing of the activities or helping each other shared activities helps to increase the bonding emotional bonding between the family members. There are some critics of the classical theories, right? That is, critic of the classical theory is cultural theory. Beyond blood and marriage ties, the cultural theorist made the claim that classical definition of family were heavily influenced by a largely unexamined Western cultural assumption that biology and its relationship to the kinship. The classical theory states that family is based either on the kinship or through the marriage. Through marriage, you can form a family. That the family that there is a kinship because of the blood relationship or because of the affinal relationship. And this cultural theory, this there was a critics to this classical theory. The cultural theory criticizes this classical theory. Post 1980s, changes were visible in theories of family, especially the kinship studies, where the traditional embedded assumption about the universality of family and sociological purpose were debated and ultimately discarded as society is changing drastically. So there is a change in the structure of the family. The changes in the institutions are there. So after post 80s, there are certain changes were observed in the family institutions. Family began to be reimagined beyond the ideal of nuclear family and biological ties for the reproduction. The meaning of the family reimagined at the new level. Now, post 1980s, this family we started reimagining the family at the two level. That is, children are no longer taken as the necessary precondition, and family relations are extended to include friends. It means that that family is based on the kinship and kinship is based on the blood relationship or the affinal relationship. Now post 80s 1980s, people started looking beyond this and they have started reimagining the new families. And according to this, they started reimagining families at two levels. The first is children are no longer taken as a necessary precondition, and family relation are extended to include the friends. The feminist perspective, power and discrimination. The fourth perspective was the feminist perspective. Mainstream studies have described the family as an indispensable social institution based on cooperation, harmony, common interest, and equality. To a large extent, they have taken men within the family as the basic unit of their study and have neglected the women's experiences because they studied the family through the men, not through the women. Feminism challenged this vision of family as cooperative, harmonious, and egalitarian. It's not true that there is a cooperation, harmony, and equality. Feminism challenged this vision. They have sought to show that rather than being mutually beneficial institution maintained on the equal contribution of all members, a family function largely with exploitation of the women's labor. So in family, there is an exploitation of the women. The feminist perspective challenge the classical theory. The feminist criticism bring to scrutiny family and focusing power dynamics underlying it. They illuminate the hierarchies and the sexual repression underlie family and henceforth reflect on its egalitarian and oppressive character. As per the classical theory that the family is based on the equality, harmony, common interest, and cooperation, the feminist perspective states that there is no equality. There is a sexual oppression or the oppression of the women, right? They challenge this view. Feminists challenge this view, right? Feminists like Marxists and functionalists have argued that family is essentially a conservative institution that function to preserve the social order. They disagree with the functionalist and agree with Marxist that in doing so it benefits only the powerful group within the society, that is the men. According to Marxist and the functionalist, the family, main function of the family is to preserve the social order. Feminists agreed to this that the main function of family is to preserve the social order, but the feminist agreed with the Marxist view that in doing so, that is, in preserving the social order, the family benefits only the powerful group within the society, and the powerful group within the society is the men. They argue that families preserve, support, and embed the patriarchy. Feminists criticize mainstream theories for not recognizing existing unequal power relationship within the family that help maintain patriarchy at the cost of women's life and rights. So there is, according to feminist perspective, there is no equality in the family, and there lies the unequal power relationship within the family, and this unequal power relationship helps to maintain the patriarchy. We have seen that how 90 post 90s, 1980s, how families are changing. Now we'll discuss about choice and regulation in marriage. Marriage is again an institution, and it is one of the important institution of this society, right? So now there are choices and various regulations in the society. Various variations in the conception of marriage. Marriage is an institution, has been academic interest due to its universality, commonality of certain characteristics, and also the diversity types and the pattern. Not every society has a similar pattern of marriage. As I told you that there is a diversity of types and the patterns of the marriage. So it is not there is not a similar types of marriage. There are several types of marriages in society. There are as many form of marriages as there are different types of family system. Marriage plays an important role in establishment of the family system, and when there are the deviations in the marriages, when there are different patterns of the society, there are as many forms of marriages as different type of family system exist in the society. The most common type of marriage is monogamous marriage. There are various types of marriage. The most common is the monogamous marriage. We discussed about the monogamous marriage earlier also. What is monogamous marriage? When one man and one woman enter into the matrimony. Some societies have polyandry and polygamy types of marriage too. What is monogamy? When one man marries with the one woman, right? That is monogamous type of a marriage, and it is the most common type of the marriage. The another type of marriage is polyandry. What is polyandry? In a few societies, they follow the polyandry type of the marriage. In polyandry, a woman is married to more than one man at a given time. That is polyandry. When one woman marries to more than one man, that is the polyandry. It has been followed by the Toda, Khasi, and Kota tribes. Polygyny, what is polygyny type of a marriage? Polygyny refers to marriage type when a man marries more than one women at the same time. That is polygyny. According to Malinowski, marriage is a contract for production and maintenance of a children. Various sociologists, anthropologists have described the marriage in different ways. According to the Malinowski, marriage is a contract. It is a contract for production and maintenance of the children. Westmark defines marriage as a relation of one or more men to one or more women, which is recognized by the custom or law, involves certain rights and duties, both in case of the parties entering the union, in case of children of it. So, Malinowski states that marriage is a contract. It is a contract for the production and maintenance of the children. Western law defines that marriage is recognized by the custom or laws, and it involves certain rights and the duties towards each other and towards the children, right? According to Kathleen Goff, marriage is a union between the man and a woman such that children born to the women are recognized as the legitimate offspring of both parents. While most society prescribe or expect a certain form of marriage, the reality shows a certain flexibility. There are certain rules of marriage. That's why we call it as an institution. Institution means there is certain rules and regulations. Although there are certain in most of the society there are prescribed or the certain forms of the marriage, but still there are deviation. They show some flexibilities, right? Now, society is changing drastically, and so the institution of the marriage, right? And one of the aspect of change of the this marriage institution is divorce and remarriage. What is divorce? The concept of family and marriage are intertwined. We all know this. A divorce is basically a dysfunctional family. As the term suggests, it refers to a family that is not able to perform function it is supposed to. Because marriage and family are associated with each other, they are intertwined. Divorce, there are certain functions of the family, right? And divorce shows that it is a dysfunctional family, that they are this refers that family is not able to perform the function it is supposed to perform. One of the reason could be that family breaks up due to the failed marriage. When pattern in a marriage decided to, when the partner in the marriage decided to part ways, it is referred to as divorce. There is a strong link between the religion and the divorce, as in many societies. Marriage is sanctioned by religious rituals and the sanctions. when the partners decided to part away, it is a divorce, and divorce is, there is a link between the divorce and marriage, because marriage is considered as a very important institution, and they are sanctioned by some religious rituals and sanctions. Uh, According to Durkheim, the increased rate of divorce was a cause of concern, and in his book Suicide, he links divorce and suicide. That, according to Durkheim, divorce and suicides are linked, and it is one of the divorce is one of the reasons for suicide. As per Durkheim, divorce by mutual consent has a negative impact on the institution of marriage, and also represented the loosening grip of moral authority in the society. Right? Divorces shows that the moral there is that people that there is a loosening grip, that society is loosening a grip on the moral authority, and it has a negative impact. This divorce has a negative impact on the institution of marriage. For him, it was important to protect the institution of marriage rather than the individual interests. This was because he saw marriage as an institution that regulates the social life, sexual relationships, and brings a certain social order. As we know that Durkheim was a functionalist, and according to him, the main function of marriage is to maintain the social order, and the divorces, because of the divorces, there is this there is a social disorder. This divorces creates a social disorder, and the marriage, the institution, according to the kid, the institution of marriage regulates the social life. It regulates the sexual regulations, and thus it maintains the social order. The ground for divorce has been spelled out both by customs and by laws in different communities. You cannot take divorce like this. There are certain grounds on which basis one can separate from each other, and these laws have grounds, and these grounds has been spelled out by the society, by the custom, as well as by the law. During 1940 to 48, several provinces and states passed laws permitting divorce for Hindus. The Special Marriage Act 1954 introduced and clarified the grounds for divorce. It has been available to all Indians who have chosen to register their marriage under this act. The Hindu Marriage Act 1955 was amended several times since 1955. That is, it has been amended in 1976 and 2012 to incorporate a wide range of grounds for divorce available to both men and women coming under review of this act. There are certain grounds on which one can seek the divorce, and the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 and the Special Marriage Act 1954 discusses those grounds. Among Muslim, marriage is a contract and divorce is allowed, while among Hindus, marriage is a dharma, and till date, divorce has been considered as a taboo in Hindu society, while in Muslims, marriage is a contract and divorce is allowed. Before 1939, the Muslim wife had no right to seek divorce except on the ground of false charges of adultery, insanity or impotency of the husband. But this solution of Muslim Marriage Act 1939, based on the several other grounds on the basis of which Muslim wife may get divorce decree passed by the order of the court. Public attitude to divorce in India is still not very liberal, in spite of legal permission for divorce, still we see divorce as a taboo. There are certain laws regarding the marriage. What are those laws? In all societies, marriage is governed by certain rules and regulations. That is why we call it an institution. There are certain rules and regulations of the marriage, and these rules may be traditional rules governed by the societal norms or the legal rules set by the state. One of the first rule of marriage was made regarding the age of the marriage. The first legislation in this direction was the Sharda Act. And Sharda Act is also known as Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929, which fixed the age of marriage for the boy at 18 and girl at 14 years. Today, the legal age for marriage for women is 18 and for men is 21. Now, again, there is a change for women, it is 21 too, right? So, these rules, there are certain rules made by the state or made by the society. The state made a rule for the age. State specified the marriageable age for a boy and a girl. The legal and the traditional rule for marriage also includes a rule regarding the widow remarriage and divorce. In many instances, traditional rules on marriage, remarriage, and divorce may be based on the religious traditions. Both marriage and divorce involve a legal process. The Hindu Marriage Act 1955 and the Special Marriage Act 1954, Indian Divorce Act 1869 and amended in 2001 are examples of legislation related to marriage and divorce in India. So there are various rules framed by the state for the marriages and the divorce in India. Members have to abide by the prohibitive and the prescriptive rules of marriage while selecting their marital partner. So there are certain societal rules, and these prohibitive and prescriptive rules are basically made by the society. One of these rules is the incest rule. Incest rule, one of the core norms regarding choosing the spouse, is based on the incest rule in almost all societies. This rule decides who is outside the categories of those one can marry. Incest rule refers to sexual union of near kin. This obviously includes the immediate family, siblings, parents, grandparents, and so on. In many society, parallel cousins are also included in this category. Means the incest rules suggest that um, there are certain norms. On these norms, one can choose the spouse, and this is this has been decided who is outside the categories of those one can marry. There are certain you can choose anyone, but there are certain who are outside the categories you cannot choose them to marry. These could be the parallel cousins, this could be the parents, siblings, or the grandparents. You cannot choose them as a spouse. So incest rules who are outside the categories, right, to those one can marry. They are outside the categories, you can choose from the leftovers. Prohibitive rules. What is prohibitive rules? Prohibitive rules are those which put restriction on men and women from entering into marital alliance with certain categories of people. That is, it states that you cannot marry these. That is, there are rules. That is prohibitive rule. One of these rules is endogamy type of a rule. Endogamy is a social rule. It requires a person to marry within the defined social group of which he is a member. Endogamy is a rule of marriage in which life partner outside the group is prohibited. Means you can marry within the group. If you are a member of a certain group, you can marry with the member of that group only. You cannot marry outside that group. You cannot choose the life partner outside the group. It is prohibited. This is known as the endogamy, right? Marriage is allowed only within the group, and the group could be the caste. It could be the base. It could be based on the class, tribe, village, religious group, etc. So marriage is allowed within the group, like a class. It could be the caste, right? I hope you understand. That is, you can marry within the certain caste. You cannot marry outside the caste. Like you can marry within the certain class or tribes or village or race. The purpose of endogamy is to maintain the racial purity or geographical separations or religious differences or cultural differences or sense of superiority or inferiority. The policy of separation, the desire to keep wealth within the group. So, all these are the reasons for endogamy. Endogamy, you can marry, you can choose your spouse within the group. You cannot marry outside the group. This is endogamy. There are various reasons for the endogamy, that is, keeping wealth within the group, geographical separation, superiority or inferiority senses, policy separation, geographical separation, racial purity, religious differences, cultural differences, all these. The another type is exogamy. Another rule is exogamy. What is exogamy? Exogamy is a social rule that prohibits a person from marrying within a defined social group of which he or she is a member. It is opposite form of endogamy. Endogamy is you can marry within the group. Exogamy is it prohibits the marrying a member within a defined social group. It is exogamy. You cannot marry within that social group. Exogamy is a practice of marriage in which individual has to marry someone outside his or her own group. Exogamy marriage assumes various forms of Hindu of India as Gotra and Spinda. This is exogamy. That you can marry within the specific caste, but that with whom you want to marry should not be from the same Gotra or Spindas. You one cannot marry within the same Gotras. That is, you should marry outside that Gotras, right? So this is exogamy. There are positive and negative rules of marriage to determine the unit within it within which one should marry and the unit within which one must not marry. Positive is one should marry, negative is must not marry. The positive rules pertains to unit of endogamy within which one can marry, caste, subcaste. Endogamy is an example of this. Rule do not permit to marry outside their religion. This is endogamy. Endogamy is a positive where you can marry. The negative rule pertains to unit of exogamy within which one must not marry. That is, among the higher caste Hindus, this unit is Gotra, in which one is not allowed to marry. So there are the positive rules and the negative rules. Endogamy is positive rules, that is, with whom one can marry, and negative rule one must not marry is exogamy. Now there are the preferential or the prescriptive rules. The rules of exogamy and endogamy may be preferential or the prescriptive rules, which give preferences to certain type of alliance over others. Right? It gives preferences to certain type of alliance over other. In certain cases, individual may choose marriage partner within a particular kin group, or he may be bound to choose only one such kin. Such type of kin are prescribed as to whom one should marry or prefer to marry are called the prescriptive rules. Prescriptive rules is it has been prescribed that an individual may choose a marriage partner within a particular group. Prescriptive rules. Prescriptive rules like cross cousin marriage, the marriage of the two individuals who are children of the sibling of opposite sex. That is, a man marries his mother's brother's daughter or his father's sister's daughter is called the cross cousin marriage. Such type of marriage is practiced among the Gonds of Madhya Pradesh and Orion and Kharia tribes of Jharkhand. Even it is found in southern part of the India. That is prescriptive rules that one can choose one should marry from this group only. Parallel cousin marriage, the marriage of two individuals who are the children of the sibling of the same sex. That is, man marries his mother's sister's daughter or father's brother daughters is called the parallel cousin marriage, and such type of marriage is seen among Muslims. This is the parallel cousin marriage, prescriptive marriage. These types of marriages are prescribed type of marriages. Another type of marriage is levirate marriage. Levirate marriage is it is a custom in which a widow marries her late husband's brother. It is also known as natal or nantra. Such type of practices is prevalent among the Toda of Nilgiri and also found in some parts of the Punjab. Another type of marriage is surrogate type of marriage. In this practice of custom, in which a widower marries his late wife's sister. So, levirate marriage and surrogate marriage. Now there are the rules, prescriptive rules, endogamy, exogamy, incest, but there are some breaking rules of the marriage. There is a now people have started the breaking the rules of the marriage. How they are breaking the rules? Through intercaste marriage, right? Endogamy states that one should marry within the same caste. Now people starting marrying outside their caste. They have started breaking the rules. Inter-religion marriage is not allowed, it is prohibited, right? It is endogamy type of a marriage, religious, but now people started marrying with people with another religion and same sex marriage. Power and discrimination in the family. Marriage and families are intertwined. Family and marriage plays an important role in social order. There are now we'll discuss about the powers and discrimination in the family. As we discussed that family is based on the cooperation, equality, and the feminist approach. We discussed about the feminist approach, that feminist approach said that there is no equality among the members of the family. So we'll discuss about the power and the discrimination in the family. Even there is a discrimination among the family members. Family is a universal social institution. According to the Burgess and Locke, family is a group of persons united by the ties of marriage, blood, or adoption, constituting a single household, interacting with each other in their respective social role, and creating a common culture. So, Burgess and Locke defined the family. Family, according to them, the family is a group of a person who are together because of the marriage, because of the blood relationship, or because of the adoption. They constitute a single household. They live under the same roof. Um, they interact with each other with respect to their social roles, and they create a common culture. It is an institution of identity formation. Family plays an important role in formation of attitude and identity of an individual. It plays an important role in providing emotional stability to the family members. It gives care and love and learning to the family members. So it is an institution of identity formation, emotions, love, care, and learning. While family work as a strong support system in both traditional and modern societies, it is also a site of power relation and discrimination. Although there is love, care, learning, emotional support, identity formation, but still it is a site of power relation and discrimination. Power, discrimination, and family. The family has long been described as a patriarchal institution in which male members control everything. In majority of society, male member controls everything. Even the society is matriarchal type of a society. It follows the matrilineal line. Again, it has been indirectly controlled by the males as mothers, brothers control the family indirectly. So it is the patriarchal institution basically. The term patriarchy, the rule of father, is based on the system of hierarchical power relation in the family in which men control women's production, reproduction, and sexuality. So where is the equality? When a man controls the women's production, it controls women's sexuality and the reproduction. Family is a fundamental unit of socialization and ordering. It trains members in the gender role, age role, caste role, and expect them to behave according to the assigned roles. Family plays a very important role. It maintains the social order. It helps in the socialization. And in maintaining the social order and in the process of socialization, it trains the member in gender role. Gender, as we know, that gender is a sociological concept. Society divided the sex into genders, and according to them, they have decided the roles of genders. So society trains the member for gender role, age role, caste role, and expect them to behave according to the assigned status. Family imposes the idea of masculinity and femininity and expects the member to behave accordingly. It is the family who divided the sex into the gender. That is, family has imposes the idea of masculinity or the femininity, and then it expects that they should behave accordingly. Boys are expected to show their masculine behaviors, and girls have to follow their feminine role. In familial context, women becomes victim of subordination. Subordination under male authority. Victims of subordination, exploitation, and oppression. All these patriarchal practices make the institution of family more discriminatory in nature. So there is no equality in the family. Even the family discriminate on the basis of gender. Authority and domination. Family is an authoritative unit in which senior most male member becomes the head of the unit. He takes all major decision on the behalf of the family members, and all members are expected to submit to the authority of the head. Income pulling, cash expenditure, and any other action, they should follow the rules formed by the head of the family, that is the eldest male. Within the authoritative structure, men and women experience differential treatments, rights, and privileges. Their rights differ when it comes to distribution of resources, such as land, property, and many other things. There is a discrimination among the males and females in distribution of resources. Women become completely dependent on the male members, and the hierarchical structure gives men a sense of control over women's lives. Women and female children become easy target for their authorities and discriminatory attitudes. There is a discrimination in household work and distributions. The natural and perceived division of labor between men and women is that men are considered to be the breadwinners. Women are expected to take care of household and raise the children, while men's work outside the house are recognized and taken seriously, and women's work in the households are not even considered as work, and women's work remain invisible. Female subordination is rooted in division between the domestic and public sphere. A woman has a minimal role to play in family decision making process. It is only the male members who plays a major important role in decision making process. But in agricultural sector in India, a large female labor force that works in the field and looks after the storage of grains, preservation of seeds, kitchen gardening, and care of the livestock. The female workforce is largely a part of informal sector. They do not enjoy the benefits of the direct participation in it, except in smaller number of instances where their work is cooperative or similar organization. There is a glass ceiling effect. There is a discrimination that the society follows the discrimination practices between the family, between the males and the females. Despite of educated women's employment is in the tertiary sector has increased many times over during the past few decades. There is a variety of jobs carrying salaries ranging from low to very high, but still there are discrimination. There is a glass ceiling effect. There is a discrimination on the basis of the preferences of a girl and a boy. Son preferences. People prefer to have son or a boy rather than a girl child. It is son preferences is a widespread attitude in Indian families, but its degree and consequent degree of discrimination against girl child varies in different regions. Preferences for the male child has much to do with the reproductive decision, which is again is controlled by the patriarchy. One of the reasons for son preferences cited in the study is that son will continue the parental line and they have rights over the ancestral properties unlike the daughters. So they prefer son because they feel like that is their son will take care in their old age, and the son is the only one who can inherit the property. So they prefer son rather over the daughter. It is commonly held that only son can perform important death and ancestral rituals. Sons' rights to parental property are coupled with responsibility of care parents in their old age and the continuing protection of the gifts of their married daughters. Secondly, daughters are considered as a burden since parents have to bear a lot of expenditures for their marriage. Again, it is made by the society. Female infanticide, be it a decision of male female member, is largely reflection of the patriarchal values. Marriage and dowry practices. Marriage is regarded as essential for girls, irrespective of the class, irrespective of the caste, religion, race, ethnicity. The main purpose of marriage is to establish a family because marriage and families are intertwined. Main purpose is to establish a family, to produce children, and to further the family's economic and social position. The social pressure for marriage is so much that in many families there is a practice of a child marriage. Child marriage has effect on the girl's health. It increases the risk of sexually transmitted diseases. It increases the risk of cervical cancers, death during childbirth. Girls' offspring are at the increased risk for premature birth and death. Marriage brings dowry to the bride's family. Apart from the child marriage, the bride's family has to give some gifts to the groom's family. Even after the educated girl's family need to pay the dowry, parents of a girl spend time and money on ensuring a daughter the best possible wedding. The social consequences of increase in the dowry payments are severe. This has devastating effect on the lives of unmarried women, who are increasingly considered the burdensome economic liabilities. Because of this dowry system, parents consider daughter as an economic liability. Beside dowry, child marriage, widowhood often contributes to the plight of a woman, which is influenced by the perception of gender within the family. They face discrimination from their family and community, which makes them socially and emotionally isolated. There is a differentiation among the male and the female on the allocation of resources, food allocation, and medical care. Discrimination in family comes with practices around the food, nutrition, and the medical care. Even the families discriminates around the food, around the medical facilities, around the nutrition. Food availability does not always ensure equal access to all family members. Even today, distribution of food and nutrition depends on the age-old traditions and the norms. Beliefs are like girls are strong and will survive, but boys are weak and hence needs extra care. Girls have to learn to survive. Unequal distribution of food has far-reaching nutritional consequences on girls. Due to lack of food and care in India, maternal mortality rate is high. Unequal distribution in terms of sharing of food not only limits women's opportunity to earn income, but also it limits her control over food. Such arrangement may also include girls being fed less food and food of lower nutritional values than the boys. Intra-familial distribution of resources including within the household, such as women being expected to eat the least, the leftovers, and after all others in the family have eaten, makes women vulnerable to food insecurities. We usually expect that women should eat at the end after serving food to everyone, and we consider it as a tradition. But it is the inequality. It makes the women vulnerable to food insecurities. Women and girls are given medical attention only if illness continued or worsened. In all these sites, senior king and the husband seem to more easily to suggest the expenses are unwarranted. While this situation may not be widespread but still prevalent. There is discrimination in educational opportunities. Girls are manageable only with a low level of education. If you give freedom to women, they dance on your head and think themselves as a divine light. This is a common thinking of the society that you should not educated girl. There should be a you should provide education up to a limit to a girl. If you will give freedom to the women, if you will educate them, they will dance on your head. Parents think education is primarily necessity for the male children only. In patriarchal society, women from her childhood does not give equal chances with the boy to develop her qualities. Girls' education has historically been significantly lower than the boys' education. The central concern with production of female sexuality and the attended notion of female purity, impurity, but severe constraint on schooling of the girls. See, uh, historically, there is a significantly lower education for the girl's child. The central idea for this lower education for the girl child is the protection of the female sexuality to maintain the purity and impurity of the girl child. It has a close linkage with the caste, status, and honor of kinship and the family. Formal education or schooling involves moving into the public sphere, interaction with the male, and being socialized as a voice, and move away from eventual goals of wifehood and the motherhood. And if you will educate the girl child, they will move away from the goal of motherhood and the wifehood. All these are responsible for the discriminations in the family. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.